Hi. This is my second podcast. My name is Chloe. I like to knit and sew, mostly knitting right now because it's cold. This is my second podcast. My first one was like several months ago, 8 months ago, a while ago. And I meant to do another one sooner, and I recorded one, and then my sound was wrong, and I'm still learning about YouTube. So it's my second podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to show you some things I've knit in the last month or so, some things I've finished and some projects I'm working on, and share some things I have acquired. My name is Chloe, I said that already. I live in Brooklyn, New York with my husband, my toddler, and my dog. And I hope it's not too loud. There's somehow a lot of planes today. So the first thing I want to show you is my finished Bao Bao Shawl by Isabelle Kraemer. I'm currently wearing it. It's very cozy. This is a project I wanted to make mostly to show off these yarns. These are really gorgeous, special to me yarns. I finished this in mid-February. It took me about 4 weeks. These are sport weight yarns, and I'll just show you the full, I'll show you the full thing just so you get the full effect. It's pretty big. It's like, I don't know, I'm 5'4", and it is longer than my wingspan. It's a pretty big shawl. It's a very good size for me. Let me talk about these yarns first. These yarns are just a really beautiful set of yarns. So the brown is Morehouse Merino, which is from Morehouse Farm. I believe it's still in Columbia County. I bought this yarn a very long time ago. I got this yarn probably more than 20 years ago. I think I was probably like 15. And I think since then Morehouse has different owners, and I think they've even moved to a different town. They used to be in a place called Rock City, New York, which is in Columbia County. Not super far from Rhinebeck, probably within an hour of Rhinebeck if you've been to the festival in Rhinebeck. And they are still making yarn. They're still around. Their website's still active, but I'm pretty sure they were owned by a couple who was older back then, and I'm pretty sure they have changed ownership. Yeah, the merino sheep. And we used to go out there a lot. My family had a home in that area, kind of, and we would go, when I first started knitting as a kid, we would go up there a lot to look at the yarn and look at the sheep, and my mom and I both took classes there, and it was really fun to go up there and look at yarn. So I'm pretty sure this was maybe a birthday gift. Maybe like we did a birthday visit out there, and my parents let me pick out a yarn, and they bought me a sweater quantity. So I bought this brown, I believe it is their sport weight 2-ply, which they still have marketing now. I don't know how similar it is to this. I'm sure things have changed, you know. But I got a sweater quantity of it. In the end, I made one shawl instead of a sweater, and it was a pretty small shawl. So I have a lot left. Even after this, I think I still have at least a full skein left. And this yarn is really beautiful. I love Morehouse Merino. I loved working with it as a kid, and I love it now. It is, so it's been sitting in my stash for a really long time. It's moved across the country with me twice. It's just been through it. And it's very, like, it's got a lot of breakage in the skein now. So yeah, I fully attribute that to my storage and not to the yarn itself. But you know, it is merino. It is a more fragile fiber. And in my experience, almost any fiber will be very strong once it's knitted, but sitting in the skein, it's vulnerable. So I haven't treated it well, and it is responding in kind. So I had to do a lot of spit splicing on this, but luckily it spit slices pretty well, and that was fine. But I really do love this yarn. It's this like nice chocolate brown. I think it's showing up pretty well. It's this nice chocolate brown. Okay, so this green is also from a New York producer. Sort of. It's Jill Draper Makes Stuff Mohonk, which I believe is, I don't think the fiber itself is from New York, but Jill Draper is based in Kingston, New York, which is within an hour of Morehouse Farm, or at least where they used to be, is my guess. Maybe a little more than an hour. And she is a dyer who sources her own fiber. So she doesn't use, a lot of dyers use yarns I buy wholesale from yarn makers. Jill Draper sources fiber and has it milled herself. So her yarns are really special, and her dye is beautiful. There is a tonality to this. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, it's not really coming up, but you can sort of see up here. There's like a little bit of tonality to this. There's a little bit of variation. It's a really pretty green. I think this is called Frosted Moss. I don't think she's dyeing this color, at least not on Mohonk right now. I actually purchased this from a thrift store. I just saw it randomly at a thrift store, and I thought it was like the luckiest day of my life. And I have enough left over of this to do something else with. It's so pretty. I love this green. It's a nice, Mohonk is a great yarn. It's like a pretty sturdy feeling yarn. I forget what the mix is. I think there might be some Dorset in there, but I forget the fiber mix, but it's all sheep wool. I'm just trying to remember the breed of species. Sheep, the breed of sheep. Sorry, my dog is over there being incredibly cute. So yeah, it's a nice like sturdy wool. It feels really good in your hand. It's a good round fiber. It would make beautiful cables, I think. I really enjoy working with it. I would love to make a sweater quantity with this. If I ever have the chance to go to her studio and pick out the yarn in person, I might. She does like a open studio day the week of Rhinebeck, and I would love to go to that sometime. Because her yarns, I've used a few of her yarns now, and they're just all wonderful. So yeah, Mohonk. She also makes a Mohonk light that's a fingering weight. This is like a pretty solid sport weight. So the next two yarns here are very different. Those are my two like New York yarns, but the next two yarns here, this dark purple and the light purple, are 100% Llama sport weight, pretty close to sport weight, that my friend's mother, who's also my friend, Harriet, she brought back from a trip to Argentina she took in December, and she brought me some yarn, which was very, very generous of her, and she sent me a picture of the store where, I think she sent me a picture of the store where she bought it. I believe it was in the town of Salta. It didn't have any labels on it or anything, but it seemed like a pretty close match to the Mohonk and the 2-ply Morehouse Merino. So I thought this would work, and it did. It worked really well. The Llama definitely has a different quality than the two wools. The Llama is, it blocks together really well, and you know, they're dispersed here. It's not making any gauge. I mean, the gauge is almost exactly the same. I'm looking at it now. The gauge is almost exactly the same between all the fibers in here. But the Llama is definitely drapier and what's the word? Like less elastic when I was working with it. I think if I'd done this whole thing in Llama, it would have hurt my hands more. Like the Llama, just because the lack of elasticity. I'll talk more about elasticity in my hands later, because that's an issue I have with yarn. But yeah, it worked up really well, and it's just, these colors go so beautifully together. When I saw the two yarns that she brought for me, I pictured them next to this green, and I put the brown in there because I have a lot of it and I wanted to stretch out the other colors, but also because I thought it kind of added a sort of a groundingness to these other colors. You know, I thought the purples and the green could be a little like more like natural than my usual vibe is, and brown is obviously very natural, like earth tone color, but I thought it kind of grounded the like lighter, happier colors. And I think that this Bao Bao pattern looks really good with these, with like a darker border. I've just been loving all the versions I've seen. So yeah, Isabelle Kraemer's version has 3 colors. The original version that she made has 3 colors. 2 that are worked in most of the shawl, and then a border that's done with a different contrast color. So I sort of followed the spirit of that, but obviously not the actual plan of that, because I wanted to have all 4 colors throughout the shawl. But yeah, I started my triangle with just the purples and the brown, and then I brought in the green every few rows, and then I did the border in just the green and brown because I had more of both of those, and because I wanted to have, I was worried about the drapiness of the llama on the edge of the shawl. I thought it would be good. I think that was the right call just in terms of fabric quality. The llama, I don't know how well this shows up, but the llama is like, it's a little hairy. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. It's very cozy. The llama is like, it's almost silky. It's kind of like working with silk. It's fluffy, it's fuzzy. It's not like shiny and slippery like silk is. But it's not grippy. I would not call it grippy. It's more slippery than these wools. But it's really fine and fun to work. I don't know. I love this. I love these colors. I love the way they came out. The only thing I don't like about this is that in the pattern, Isabelle Kraemer tells you to choose if you want to break your yarn at every color change, or this is the color change route right here. You can see this. Or if you want to carry it. And I thought weaving in all these ends would be so messy. So I decided to carry it. But then that means you have yarn carries. And you can see I wove in the green, and like I'm not, it's a little messy. It was neater when I first did it, but it's gotten messier. Might have to do some work on that. But yeah, I really don't love the way this looks. And I was reading Caipirinha on Instagram, who I've been following since she had a blog, like probably 20 years ago, maybe more even. Caipirinha has a Instagram post about this. She also made the shawl recently, and she had an Instagram post where she talked about different ways you could handle that edge. But I read it after I'd already gotten pretty far down the shawl and just accepted that this was a part of my project. So, but if I were to do this again, I would maybe look into other ways of handling that. I think she mentioned like an applied I-cord to kind of hide all those ends. But yeah, I mean, I hate breaking my yarn because of the weaving in ends annoyance, but also just it feels like I'm wasting a lot more yarn that way. Like I like to leave like 4 to 5 inches for weaving in. And this way, like I use way less than that just to carry it. So yeah, I just didn't want to waste any of this yarn. It's very precious. So, but overall, I'm really happy with it. I've been using it a lot just as like a layer around the house, which is exactly what I wanted it for. My couch that I'm sitting on right now is right next to the window. So if I'm sitting here in the evening, it can be chilly. My desk where I sit when I work from home is also right next to a window. So it's nice just to have an extra little layer. It goes really perfectly with this shirt that I'm wearing now, which coincidentally is also what I wore in my last podcast. So sorry, I should have planned ahead better, but this is what I felt like wearing today. It's a Dawson tee by Helen's Closet. I sewed this in bamboo rib. Okay, so that is my Bao Bao. It's very cozy. I want to say one more thing about it. This dip stitch is done by, like you do the dip stitch by, remember this is the top row. So you do the dip stitch by dipping your needle in and pulling yarn through and doing a stitch, 3 stitches, 3 rows. You do a stitch 3 rows below the row you're currently working on. So it makes the project a little lumpy. Like the fabric is very lumpy and thick before blocking because of all those extra layers. And yeah, I was really worried about it. I didn't think blocking would change that dramatically. I did not do a swatch. I don't do swatches for flat pieces usually. Especially like you start with a tiny amount of stitches for this. It starts with a garter tab, which is a bit annoying, and then you can do a whole swatch. I will say, Isabelle Kraemer in her instructions for this pattern gives a lot of instructions on how to make a beautiful swatch with all of your colors. Really well done instructions. Did not follow them, sorry. But yeah, it makes the fabric comes out very thick and a little lumpy. And I blocked it and it came out drapey and like elegant. And, you know, I was looking at comparing mine with pictures from, what's her name? The woman who owns Sonder Yarn Company. She made a really beautiful version in gorgeous colors. And I was comparing mine with the pictures of hers, and hers is like so fine and drapey. And I was like, oh no, I just used the wrong yarn for this. Oh no. But then when I blocked it out, it's still like a little on the chunky side because this is these are slightly heavier sport weight yarns, I think. But it is really just drapey and lovely and light and really nice layer to have around the house. I've been wearing it kind of a lot. Okay, that's it for that. My next finished project, I actually finished this before the Bao Bao, but this is my Alpine Bloom sweater. I don't want to go too close because I actually spilled a little coffee on it the other day and I haven't washed it yet. But this is my Alpine Bloom. Blah, yay, Alpine Bloom. This is, believe it or not, the second adult size garment I have ever made that actually fit me. I've made others when I was younger that never fit. I've just never been a garment knitter until all of a sudden I've knit in the last 6 months 3 adult size garments and 2 toddler size garments. So, and they all work for us. So they're all like the shape of my human body or my daughter's human body roughly. So I'm really proud of myself. Just something has changed in me. It's just like, I'm suddenly, I don't know, I'm like almost 40 and now I'm like mature enough to make a whole sweater and like measure myself accurately. I don't know. I've started and stopped a lot of sweaters. I've made a lot of sweaters that were not the shape of a human body somehow. But somehow it just has clicked in the last year and now I'm a sweater knitter. So this is the Alpine Bloom by Caitlyn Hunter. It's a fingering weight sweater. It's actually, she designed it as a short sleeve tee. I wanted long sleeves because I used wool and I don't really do wool t-shirts. This red is Hudson and West Weld. It's a little pilly because I have been wearing it a ton and has been pilling. It's not, I didn't love Weld, which is fine because it's no longer in production. Hudson and West is no longer in business, which is sad because they used American fiber and the yarns are really beautiful. This color is perfect. It's like this, I think they called it feathered red or red feather. It's like a sort of brown, red brown, that I just really love. I hope it's reading red enough in this color. I wanted a red and blue sweater, because in New York City in the winter, there's a lot of red and blue, particularly like where I live, a lot of the houses and buildings are made out of red brick. And I live near the water, so there's the blue water and the blue sky. You get these like bluebird days. So this sweater to me, I know it's red and blue, but to me this sweater was like very much winter colors. So I thought of it as like my winter flower sweater while I was working on it. And this red is like, not quite brick red, but it's close. And the blue is the blue close to like a bluebird day, what we call a bluebird day in the Northeast. They probably call it that other places too. But yeah, bluebird day in the winter, these like bright blue skies and no leaves on the trees and, you know, beautiful. So the blue is from the Little Fiber Co. I purchased it when I went to a yarn festival in Philadelphia in December. I forget what that was called, Philly Fiber Festival or Philly Textile Craft Fair, something like that. And Little Fiber Co. is a Philadelphia-based dyer. And this yarn is her Corriedale fingering, woolen Corriedale fingering, something like that. It's a Corriedale fingering. And this color she calls Just Like Those Royals. I believe she still has some of this on her website. It's a gorgeous color. And side note, it comes from her collection that is named after, or it's inspired by the Brandy version of Cinderella, the live action Disney Cinderella starring Brandy, Victor Garber, and Whoopi Goldberg as the king and queen, and some Broadway guys, Prince, I forget, which is really great inspiration. Sorry, my nose, I'm itchy. I'm like, my allergies are coming in, spring. But yeah, this is a beautiful sweater. I really love the lace on the neckline. You need me to hide my head so you can see that better. The lace is just gorgeous. The original pattern, like I said, has short sleeves and she has you repeat the lace on the sleeve. I just kind of improvised a long sleeve. I think I did paired decreases on either side, the beginning of round, like slightly more often than every inch, I think is what I did. And I didn't have a ton of the red feather. I bought it and they're going out of business sale. So I didn't have a huge amount of it. And I was playing Yarn Chicken, which is one of the reasons why I did the bind offs in the last few rows on all the hems in a different color. I also just really like the way that looks. I saw someone else do that with this sweater and I wanted it too, so that's what I did. This color work is gorgeous. It's very intuitive. I didn't have to rip back at all. It was just what it was. It was great. I didn't have any problems with this. I think it's because there's these border stitches between each motif. So if you get to that border stitch and you're on the wrong color, you know that you messed up. So there was like no time when I had to frog back. I think at one point, like I had to go back 3 motifs, and it was probably during one of these rows where there's more space before the border stitches. So it was very, very easy to do. And I really enjoyed it. I love doing the color work. I would absolutely use this Woolen Corriedale fingering weight yarn again. I've seen a few different dyers using a base like that, so it's something to look into. But I really love the way this little fiber coat color pops in this sweater. Anything else to say about this? Not really. I've been wearing it a lot. It has been pilling. It's very light and drapey. I didn't love working with the weld. It hardly matters, but it's a little, like, I didn't mind the color work because you know, you're not just like, you go slower on color work, and there was another yarn, but the body I found very stressful because it is like a billion stitches, and also the weld is a little ropey feeling to me. It just kind of was hurting my hands a bit, but whatever, it's done now. It's beautiful. Yeah, so that's my Alpine Bloom. Put that to the side. And now another project I finished. My hair is already messy, so I don't even care about putting on my hat. This is the Bainbridge Beanie by Michele Frazzetta. I don't think I finished this in my last episode, but no, you watched it anyway, so that's fine. This is 2 also pretty special yarns, actually. This is a merino fingering from Lili Loops, who's a local dyer. She's based in Staten Island, and she makes yarn colors based off of her husband's record collection. Her husband's a DJ. So I bought this at, so I bought that yarn. There's another yarn in here. I bought that yarn at a craft fair at the Textile Arts Center in Brooklyn a couple years ago. And then I've held it with this Surrey, I think it's a Surrey alpaca, like a Surrey silk blend, alpaca Surrey silk. Surrey is alpaca. Surrey silk blend from Cape May Fibers in the color Chartreuse Button. And the Lili Loops yarn is in the color Caipirinha, which is still available on her website. I think both of these are still available, so if you want this. And the Bainbridge Beanie is a pretty new pattern. It was released in January. I bought it right away. I knew I wanted to make a textured hat with this yarn. I bought the Cape May Fibers Surrey Silk at Vogue Knitting Live in January when I went to that, and that was really fun. I bought it to pair with the Lili Loops. So the Lili Loops yarn, I bought it, I wanted it because I love the color, and I initially thought I would use it for sock detail, like cuffs and toes and stuff on socks. But I realized it's a single merino, and I realized that a single merino is probably not the best thing for vulnerable parts of socks. So I was just kind of sitting around in my stash, and I thought I'd make a hat with it, but I didn't really want a fingering weight hat. I just don't find them warm enough. So when I saw this Surrey silk, I thought it'd be perfect. Lili Loops was also at Vogue Knitting Live, and she does make a fluff yarn. I forget if it's Surrey or mohair, but she does dye a fluff yarn. And I didn't see it in her booth, like this color in her booth when I was there. And I was gonna like swing back when she had more time and talk to her. She was very busy when I was there. But then I saw this at Cape May Fibers, and I was like, this is perfect. This is a perfect yarn. So they're a pretty good color match. I think the Cape May Surrey is a little bit yellower, maybe. You probably can't tell. Yeah, you probably can't tell. But the Cape May Surrey was a little bit yellower and also more even. The Lili Loops yarn had a little bit more variance to it, which I love. And I think you can see the variance. There's still some variance in the finished hat. And this is a great pattern. It's very warm. It's very fluffy. The pattern was really fun. I love doing broken rib, more on that later. You can see I did make a mistake in the broken rib and here and decided not to care about it. You make the brim backwards. So you make the brim so that you can flip it up and have the broken rib showing, because broken rib is a one-sided fabric. Yeah, it's great. I would make more of these. I think I made it 2 pattern specs. I have a big head, and it grew a little bit when I blocked it. So it's a little big. I think I like having like the stacked look on it. That's what I wanted when I made this. But I think if I made it again, I would probably take a little bit of length out. I think it's a little bit long, or I might make the brim a little longer and leave the length the same. So it's a little long for me is what I'm saying, but I really like it. I've been wearing it all the time. In the cold snap we've had, this incredibly cold winter, it's been really nice to have. And my husband can see me in the dark when I'm walking down the street. He's like, look at you. So that's my Bainbridge beanie by Michele Frazzetta. All right, and my next finished object, this is my final finished object. Ta-da! It's another floral circular yoke sweater. Another floral circular yoke sweater. This is the Springerle pullover by Amy Christoffers. This was released in December, and it was right around my birthday. And I wanted to buy myself a birthday project. I wanted to buy myself like a birthday yarn treat. So when this was released the week of my birthday, it felt like the right thing. So I bought it immediately. I bought the yarn recommended in the pattern, which is sport weight. It's Lichen and Lace Rustic Heather Sport. I made a mistake in the cuff, so I'll talk about that in a minute. This is a great yarn. I loved knitting with this. I just wanted to be in this yarn all the time. I made this in just under 5 weeks, which is really fast for me for a sweater. You know, I'm like not a small person, right? This is, I think, a size 50, the 50-inch size. So knitting that in less than 5 weeks is pretty impressive. And it's really just because I love working with this yarn so much. It has a nice like active feel. The colors are stunning. So this is the background color is called Lake. The green is called Shrub, and the pink is Peach. And the peach has a little bit of variance to it that to me makes it look like cherry blossoms. I've been calling this my cherry blossom pullover in my head. I've just like loved working on this in January. And the blue has a lot of variation to it. I did alternate skeins. I did a better job of it in some rows than others. The top of the sweater, I alternated like every few rows during the color work. I don't think it mattered. The busy color work, I don't think it mattered that much. And then I alternated like every 3 rows in the body. And then I started seeing this pooling happening, and I decided I should be alternating more often. Yeah, you can really tell that I was only alternating every like 2 or 3 rows. So in the bottom of the sweater, you can see at the back better, I switched to every row. There was one skein that I think was really light, but it worked out fine. I don't mind some variation. That's why I buy hand-dyed yarn. And I don't work with it very often because it is pricey. So when I do, I'm just kind of like, what happens, happens. But I didn't want it to be like color blocked, right? And I knew that one of these skeins was lighter than the others. So it worked out. It worked fine. This yarn was just a treat. Lichen and Lace is a Canadian company. They use Canadian wool. This is actually a pretty budget-friendly project because, I mean, Lichen and Lace Rustic Heather Sport is a pretty good price for hand-dyed yarn. I think they're 50 gram skeins, and I think the price for them is like a little over $11 US, like maybe 11.25 US dollars, which is not bad. You get like 200 yards per skein. I bought this with a 10% off discount code. I think it was 10%. Woolly Thistle was giving a discount if you joined their newsletter that week, or maybe they always do that. I don't know. I never ordered from them before, so it was like a first-time customer joined the newsletter deal. And I got all the yarn for this sweater for under $100, which I think is pretty good for a 50-inch bust hand-dyed yarn sweater quantity. And I love it. I love the colors. I love the variants. I just think it's beautiful. It's stunning. I love the way it feels. It's not soft. It's not soft. I would never call it soft. But it's not itchy. I don't find it prickly at all. It does feel a little bit rough. My husband is not a woolly wool guy, does not like woolly wool. And he did not like the way this felt. But even he said it's not itchy. It's just not like soft. So yeah, rustic is a good name for it. I have since learned by trolling around Ravelry, I have no personal experience to back this up, but I have learned that Briggs & Little, which is another Canadian yarn producer, has a yarn called Single Ply Sport, I think, and that Single Ply Sport is what Lichen and Lace uses as their yarn base for these rustic heather sport colors. Lichen and Lace has gorgeous colorways. The colors are just stunning. I mean, if you can see the peach, yeah, it's just so beautiful. They like glow. And I think Briggs & Little uses a more commercial dye process, so you get less of that variation. Lichen and Lace also has like hand-painted variegated colorways. Briggs & Little does not. So they're different products, but I think it would be really cool to pair them together. The Briggs & Little yarn is so cheap, guys. They're 100 gram skeins, and I think I checked Maritime Family Fibers, who sells Briggs & Little in the US, has them for like $7.55 US a skein. So that's a really cheap yarn, especially considering it's North American wool. And if you live in the Northeast, I think it's mostly wool from the Northeast, from Eastern Canada. So if you live in the Northeast, it's not exactly local, but it's not global, right? It's like definitely, you know, sheep that are closer to home. And because they are more monotone dye process, I think it would be cool to get the Briggs & Little yarn as your base color, and then get one of the Lichen and Lace variegateds to use for your color work. Like the sport weight version of Alpine Bloom, I think it's called Autumn Alpine by Caitlyn Hunter, would look really beautiful. There are people who've done this. It would look so beautiful with like a variegated Lichen and Lace Rustic Heather Sport as the contrast, and the main color be the Briggs & Little like in a unitone, unicolor. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there, and it's you know, nice to have cheaper wool. And I don't know, just as an American in these troubled times, nice to support Canada. Go Canada. I did make one very glaring mistake. I probably made other mistakes, but one pretty glaring mistake that I noticed as I was doing it and decided I didn't care, because again, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not sure you can even tell right here. Maybe you can. For one of these sleeves, I think this one is the tighter one. I changed the smaller needle before I did the color work because I just wasn't thinking. And on the other one, I didn't change the smaller needle until I got to the ribbing, which is the correct thing to do. I actually like the way the color work looks on the tighter needle, but it's not super noticeable. They're different hands, right? When I'm wearing it, it's not super noticeable. I think it is noticeable on camera right now, if you know what you're looking for. It's a little tighter, yeah. Oh, whatever, it happened. It's fine. But other than that, delightful process. Amy Christoffers' writing style is a little bit more spare than Caitlyn Hunter's, but very easy to understand pattern, easy to follow. There was no point where I had questions. So excellent, excellent. And that concludes the FO section of this podcast. So let's move on to whips. So the first one I'm going to talk about, this one is a little different. This is the Mr. Cloudy Day vest by Cata Rubke. These yarns are Knit Picks palette held double with Purl Soho Tussock, and the palette is in the color Comfrey. There's Chloe hair hanging out that. The palette is in the color Comfrey. Sorry about all the hair. And the tussock is in the color Bright Thistle. So if you see these two together and the fabric they are making. So this Purl Soho Bright Thistle Tussock I got as a Christmas gift. It's a wonderful gift. I got 3 skeins of it. And I originally thought I would do a, what's it called? Bold Spirit Tea by Park Williams. And then I was just worried about how it would wear and if I actually would be comfortable in a mohair t-shirt, and it's held single. Mohair is held single in that. And I just wasn't sure about it. And then the weather started getting a little warmer and I was like, oh, I would wear a vest. I would totally wear a vest. And I thought of this palette in the color Comfrey. I bought this for a specific project, and when it arrived, I realized I'm wearing this exact color. But when it arrived, I was like, this is not the color I wanted. I hate this color. And it's like the same color as everything else I'm wearing on camera right now. And in person, yeah, these are basically the same. But I just didn't like it. I don't know, something about it in wool, I just didn't like it. And I did try the project I had. I was gonna stripe it with like a paler green, and I hated the way it looked. I can't explain it. Because like looking at this shirt, I love this color on me. I love this shirt, but like something about this, I was like, it's too close to my skin tone. And I know my skin is not this color. I know that. It's a little bit darker in real life. It's getting a little light on camera, like a little more like this, where it is in the shadow. But I was just like, this washes me out. I don't like it. Especially paired with a lighter color, like paired with the green, I just didn't like it. And I realize it's funny because I'm wearing green with it right now and I think they look great together. But it was a lighter green than this and I was just not into it. I don't know. I was like, this is a mistake. And I felt like as soon as I opened the package, I bought this in Knit Picks, the Knit Picks palette. I bought this in their Black Friday sale. And as soon as it arrived, I was like, oh no. Like I opened it up and I was like, oh no, that's not the color I wanted. That's not what I thought it was gonna be. And I probably should have just sent it back, but I kept it because Knit Picks palette is a nice yarn to have around. It's pretty, it's nice. I like it. It's like a fingering weight wool, good, sort of sticky. It's a nice, cheap yarn, workhorse of a yarn. So I was like, I'll use it for something someday. And then I thought of pairing it with this. And I thought maybe they would go well together. Because when I realized I didn't want to make something that was just mohair held single, I was thinking about buying Purl Soho's fingering weight wool, I think called Line. I think that's how they say it, or Lean. And they do have a color that pairs well with this. And I was thinking about buying that. And I was like, well, I don't want to buy more yarn right now. So I just decided to try swatching it with this. And my swatch, do I have my swatch? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I have my swatch. I can't find it. I was like, I'm going to bring out the swatch because the swatch does look different. But I have like a bunch of random yarn in here in this bag. Whatever. I'm not going to show you the swatch because I don't know. I'll just show you this. But I thought that this worked together really well. It just brightens up the Comfrey a little bit. Like one of the things I didn't like about it was just like how dull it is. You know, that might be it because this shirt, they're showing up as very similar on camera, but this shirt is a bamboo knit, right? It's a bamboo rib knit. So it's a little bit shiny. It's not showing up at all on camera, but it's like a little bit shiny. And that might be it. Like just the luster difference makes a big difference in how I feel about this color. But the Tussock is a silk mohair blend. I think it's 70-30. I think it's 70-30. And it obviously has the shine from the silk. You can really see it on the wrong side. Those like pink bits. It's got some shine and I like the fluffiness. And I like the way it's marling a little bit because the colors are different. So I think this is really nice. The Cloudy Day vest, or Mr. Cloudy vest by Cata Rubke, is a top-down vest. You start with the back panel and then knit down and then do the fronts and pick up and do the fronts. And I've actually never knit something with that construction. I know it's very common now, but it wasn't when I was last knitting a lot. And again, I'm not a huge garment knitter until recently. So I've never made this construction before and I really am enjoying it. I love the way these increase line. Can you see that? These increased lines, look, they're just really pretty. I don't know if you could see that at all, but they're still fuzzy on the camera. But I am really enjoying that construction. It's nice just to have like a little piece of something to work on while you do these increases on the back. I'm not convinced. So my blocked swatch that I made, just to test this out, is drapier than this fabric. It did stretch out a bit and like loosened up and opened up a bit. So it is drapier. My row gauge did change in my swatch. So right now this is looking, I'm having a hard time believing this is gonna fit. But my gauge grew in both directions, but the row gauge really lengthened and I'm really worried that this is too short, but I think it'll be okay. I'm gonna keep going and see how it goes. And I do have a backup plan in case this doesn't work out the way I wanted to, but I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't been prioritizing it just because I loved working on my Springerle pullover so much and I only wanted to do that. But it's like chilly again now and I like having the fuzzy yarn in my hands. So yeah, there was a few warm days last week where it was like in the 70s and I did not want to be working with mohair then. So imperative to finish this soon. I should probably start working on it more aggressively. But it's great. I have a ton of palette in the color Comfrey. I think I have, I think I got, I forget how big the skeins are, but or balls are, it's bald. I got like 1,800 yards of it for the project I was planning. And this will not use all of that. I have 3 skeins of the Purl Soho Tussock and those are like 320 or so. I think I have about 950 yards of the Purl Soho Tussock. So yeah, hopefully I don't use too much more palette than that. And I do have an idea for the leftovers that I'm way more excited about than what I had first planned for this that I think will make this sing. So yeah, I'll talk more about that another time. But that's my Mr. Cloudy Day vest. This vest I chose for this because I wanted a split hem and it has, which it has, I wanted buttons, which it has, I wanted a V-neck, which it has, and I wanted a little bit of detail. And it has this cable running down the side under the arm that I think is really cute. So I'm excited to make this. Oh, here's my swatch, haha. So it's a little drapier. You can see it's a short little swatch. It's a short swatch. I probably should have made it longer, but I was not in the mood. Yeah, I'm getting a 22 stitch gauge, which I was a little surprised by, actually. I thought it would be harder to get a 22 stitch gauge with this combination. Tussock is a little lighter than a lot of mohairs on the market, so I've heard that people have gauge issues with it, but yeah, 22 stitch gauge with Knit Picks palette and Purl Soho Tussock. And this fabric is really lovely. I would recommend this combination. It's a little cheaper than other combinations of fingering and mohair you could get. And it's pretty. All right, that's that. Next up, I have a sock. And I finished one and then didn't want to work on the other. And I'll talk about some of my sock problems. This is the Grampa sock by Alicia Plummer. It's got this kind of waffle pattern, a heel flap and gusset, heel construction. You start on size 2 needles and then change to smaller needles for the foot and the heel gusset. And I did that, so the gauge is a little different. You can sort of tell. This yarn is Amble, I think it's called, or Ramble by the Woolly Thistle. It is a nylon-free natural wool sock yarn, so no superwash, no nylon. I wanted to try it because I feel like nylon makes my feet sweat a bit. So I just wanted to see if this was going to be a different wearing experience. I really like working with it. This color is called Wild Clover, and I love this. I love this. It's like a warm toned pink, but not too pink. I really love it. I really enjoyed knitting this. I was going right along and I was like, yes, I used to knit a lot of socks, haven't knit them in years. And I was like, yes, I love sock knitting. And then I got to the toe and I remembered my problem with sock knitting. And my problem with sock knitting is that I'm really bad at catch and stitch. I heard recently we're not supposed to call it that anymore. I don't know why, but grafting. I'm really bad at grafting. Do you see how messy that is? It's terrible. This is terrible. I've been knitting for 20 years. I cannot Kitchener, graft, whatever. I cannot do it. I just can't do it. So I did knit this, and then I got to the toe and I was like, oh my God, now I have to graft. And I watched a bunch of videos on grafting, which is what I have to do every time. And I finally, like, I just let it sit for a week, and then I finally just sat down and did it. And it came out like this, and it's terrible. And it's not gonna be comfortable in a shoe. And I don't know, so I need to look at alternatives, right? I mean, I could practice grafting. I could just like make the other one and practice it and be like, okay, I'm just gonna practice and practice and practice. Or I could look into alternatives. And one of the alternatives I know is knitting your socks toe up, and then you don't have to worry about it. You just have to worry about fancy cast-ons, which, you know, do I have that in me? Who knows? But yeah, my grafting sucks, and it's so bad. Yeah, so that's my sock knitting problem. I don't know. I'm just like not responsible enough to keep track of which direction I'm supposed to be going when I'm grafting. And yeah, everything else about this sock I really enjoyed. There's a little laddering because I was using TPNs, but that will block out. I love the waffle print. I think it's really cute. I think it's really cozy. I think it'll look really cute with blendstone boots, which is mostly what I wear in the winter. I like it. I'm happy with it, except for the fact that I don't know how to graft. There must be other ways of finishing a toe. I mean, maybe I could take a class just on grafting. Yeah, if you have any suggestions for ways to be better at grafting or alternatives to grafting, let me know. This yarn is beautiful. I highly recommend it. It's really soft. It's a really comfortable sock, despite the pointy, prickly toes. It's a very comfortable sock. Okay, and my final whip is this one. This is the Anacortes. Wait, where's the front? This is the inside. This is the Anacortes sweater. Anacortes pullover, maybe, by Michele Frazzetta. It's a top-down broken rib pullover with twisted rib details in the collar, cuffs, hem, and raglan. And also, I believe, under the arm when I get to that point. I'm not there yet, obviously. I just really enjoy broken rib. I mean, the ribbing on that Grampa sock is the same way. So it's a waffle, which is kind of a variation on a broken rib. And I actually like twisted ribbing too. I know some people don't like knitting it. I don't mind it. I twist my ribs kind of naturally. I have to like remind myself not to do it when I'm doing ribbing. So it's pretty easy for me. My German short rows, the places where they're resolved are really messy on this. And I've seen this on other projects. So I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think some of it will block out, but probably not all of it, because this yarn is a 50% wool, 50% cotton. So those imperfections are showing, and that is stressing me out a bit. But again, not enough to rip back. I don't know how to do it better, and I'm not going to learn on this project. So it's just something to keep in mind for the next time I have to do German short rows. But yeah, you can see that, those issues where I resolved the short rows. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening there. That's where the short row resolutions are. And yeah, this yarn is the Knit Picks Woolen Cotton in the color Blueberry Pie. I love this color. I'm really happy about it. I wanted to try this yarn because I really like wearing wool cotton blends, and I haven't knit with them before, but I like wearing them. I find them very practical in the spring and fall, and also just generally, you know, again, I live in New York City. New York City apartments are always overheated. I don't always want to wear, I almost never want to wear a 100% wool sweater in my home. It's basically always too hot for that. So I thought this would be a nice sort of transitional season piece, and also a nice indoor piece in winter when I'm working from home or just hanging out at home. Like a kind of fancy sweatshirt. So yeah, I think the broken rib is really classy. This pattern is beautiful. I'm doing this as part of a knit along. Michele Frazzetta is having a knit along for her Anacortes family of patterns, which includes this pullover, a shawl, and a sock. And I might also make a sock if I have time. We'll see if I feel up to doing that. It really depends on how much I want to put myself in for grafting again, so close to that grandpa sock. Because I think that one is it's a cuff down. So yeah, but I love this broken rib pattern. I think it's very classy. I think in the cotton blend yarn, it's very elegant. My swatch, I don't know if I have my swatch here. I have to bring my swatches. Yes, I do have my swatch. So my swatch was messy. Don't look at the bottom part, please. I tried on a bigger needle and I didn't like it, so I just switched to a smaller needle. I use the needle size that's recommended by the pattern. My initial like instinct was I was gonna need to go up a needle size, and I didn't. My instincts were bad. But it opened up a lot, kind of flattened. So I think for me, this will be, I mean, it's cotton, right? It's gonna grow. So I think for me, this will be kind of like a floppy summer sweater, which I always need. So I'm happy with it. And I really love this color. It's really working well for me. It's wrinkly, I'm sorry. I swatched them around even, look at that. So responsible. Yeah, so just loving it, great. I don't love working with this yarn. It's a little hard in my hands, but, and it has, you know, that cottony feeling. And after finishing that Lichen and Lace Rustic Heather Sport project, this just feels not as good. But it's growing on me. It's fine. It doesn't like kill my hands. It does. I find that I get really tense when I'm knitting with cotton. So I have been having like neck and shoulder pain. So I'm just trying to remind myself to relax while I work with it. It's not that serious. But this pattern is really beautifully written. It has a lot of nice details. I just really like how this is working out, even with my mistakes and my errors, which again, I'm not going to fix those because I don't do that. Here's the back. There's a big mistake on the back. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm not going to point it out. That's that. Those are my whips. Now, I have one more thing to show you, and this is a gift that I received from my grandmother. I'm going to have a sip of tea. My grandmother my grandma had a full-time job and 3 kids, so she wasn't like sitting at home doing crafts the way I am right now. I mean, I have a full-time job, but I only have 1 kid. And my job is not as busy as hers was, but she did make stuff. She always made stuff. And she came from a family where that was normal and where people always made stuff. And she did sew mostly like Halloween costumes for her kids, or like matching outfits for them for the holidays. She didn't sew like everything they wore. Like she wasn't sewing constantly, but you know, she like hemmed her own clothes. She's the short queen on the short side. So she hemmed all of her own clothes when she needed that kind of thing. She did tailoring for herself. And she made like home decor a lot of home decor. She also, like, I think her hobby when she was braiding rugs, she made beautiful braided rugs for all the grandkids. And it's funny because I'm the oldest grandkid, so I got the biggest one, and then the youngest grandkid, there's only 4 of us all together, but the youngest one has, like, mine was like a room-sized rug. It was the rug in my room growing up. And my youngest cousin has like this little like chair rug, and I think she just like she was older and tired, you know. But yeah, so my grandma was crafty, and she did knit and sew, and she crocheted a little bit. But she told me she never really enjoyed it. Like, she liked sewing, but not enough to like put a lot of time and energy into it. And she occasionally knit, but didn't really like it. But she gave me some of her old crafty things, so I thought I would show them. This is a darning egg. And let's see what else we got here. I got them all mixed up. These are some very old pinking shears. Oh, they could use a grease and probably a sharp. I don't know that I would trust these on fabric right now, but they're beautiful. This is a pin cushion that she told me a friend of her mother's made her mother as a gift. Can you see that? It's like a cross stitch. or I don't know, point d'anglais is maybe what they call that. It's like a rose, really beautiful. It's got like a sort of satiny back, really pretty pincushion. Much too elegant to be a pincushion, I think. Some lace hem tape, which was a very 1960s thing. Oh, this one actually was made in 2009, so I don't know where she got that. It says on the back. These are DPNs. I don't know, she always told me she never really liked knitting, but she did knit Argyle socks. Like the only thing she ever knit for pleasure was Argyle socks, which I think is such a weird thing. Like, you don't like knitting, but then you make Argyle socks for your family. Like, so weird. Like, what a true, like, Argyle socks sound hard. Colorwork socks are hard, you know? And then that's the only thing you ever make. But yeah, she was like, these are the needles I use to make Argyle socks. So 3 of these are aluminum and 2 are plastic. And they feel like kind of big for socks for me. These feel like a 2, maybe, size 2 needle, maybe a 1.5. But yeah, little DPNs. And then this is, what do they call it? For transferring markings onto your fabric. It's a little transfer wheel, yeah, transfer wheel. Plastic. Here's just a boy crochet hook, size J. She told me she used these for lacing the boys' shoes, but I don't know. And then this is really cool. This is maybe my favorite thing in here. There's a little tape in here. But this is this like very space age tool, right? Look at that. So like she showed this to me and I was like, is that like mascara? Like, what is this little thing? And then you open it. It's the coolest seam ripper. Look at that. It's a little seam ripper. It's so cool. What a like classy seam ripper. Awesome. Yeah, so those are my acquisitions. I did buy some yarn, but it's not that interesting, so I'm not gonna talk about it. I just thought I'd share these pretty vintage things my grandma gave me. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and hopefully I'll post more in the future, but it was fun to do this today, and maybe we'll talk soon. Happy making.